Okay, the Dogon are a priestly, modern-day African tribe. They're outwardly primitive, and they are from Mali, which is a country in the northwest bulge of Africa. And in my opinion, the Dogon tribe, for anybody who is interested in ancient symbols or ancient religion and what it all means, the Dogon are a great untapped resource. Mm-hmm. And my first exposure to the Dogon came, as you said, through Robert Temple's book, The Sirius Mystery. And I began following some of his sources when I began to research about the Dogon. The thing that brought the Dogon to the attention of the public was the fact that they seemed to know some things about astronomy that they shouldn't know without having powerful telescopes. They knew that the Sirius star system involved two stars, not one, and that one of them was a very tiny dwarf star, and they knew that the orbital period of the two stars for each other, among other things. And so I began to pursue that, and I discovered that that's just really the tip of the iceberg. You might remember that Carl Sagan proposed that the Dogon knowledge about these stars came from some modern visitor to the tribe.
Right.
But when you get down into the Dogon system, you realize that this information about Sirius is part of a much larger system of knowledge. And all the words used to describe that system are really ancient Egyptian words. And so from my perspective, I can't imagine a modern visitor who could have come to the Dogon and told them these things who would have couched them in ancient Egyptian words.
Now, explain that a little bit more for me.
Okay. The words that define the system that scientific knowledge is part of are all ancient Egyptian words. And so if you imagine some modern-day scientist coming to visit with a Dogon and telling them things they didn't know, how possibly could that person have been capable of giving that information to the Dogon using ancient Egyptian words?
Okay. All right. I follow you there. There's no way they could.
Right. And so that's the first indication that we're talking about a system that really is ancient.
Now, how did this first start? How did we first learn about the Dogon tribe and the Sirius Mystery, even before Temple wrote the book?
Okay, there are two French anthropologists, a man by the name of Marcel Griol, who was the foremost anthropologist of his day, and his student, whose name was Germain Dieterlen. And they spent the better part of 30 years, starting in 1930, living among the Dogon and researching them and filming them and interviewing them and studying every aspect of their religion and documenting it. And they produced a work called The Pale Fox, which is the definitive statement about what the Dogon religion is and what it means. Pretty much everything the Dogon do, you can count on the fact that the ancient Egyptians did too. The Dogon are like a crossroads for several ancient traditions. They have rituals that are a lot like ancient Judaism, and they have civic practices that are like ancient Egypt, and they have a cosmology that's like ancient Buddhism. And so here you have in one package information that binds all of these traditions together, and Sirius is sort of at the heart of that. The Dogon have a festival called the Sigi Festival. Now, the word Sigi is really an Egyptian word, sakai, that means to celebrate a festival. So you find this term turning up in ancient cultures around the world, even in the names of different ancient tribes, this concept of celebrating a deity or celebrating a cosmological concept.
Being teachers of the ancient wisdom systems. Thus, my beloved brothers and sisters, when we study the great significance of the so-called Mayan calendar, we are studying the cosmological history of space-time as seen through the eyes of your African autochthonous ancestors. And a study of the Mayan calendar is a study of the cosmogenetic history of African peoples right here in this hemisphere, in an area known today as Mesoamerica, or the word meso meaning middle. Now, the European man uses the so-called Gregorian calendar to define his present space-time reference, a sequence based on the solar cycle of 365 days. But melanated peoples did not only use this singular reference to the sun as the measure and gauge of the center of all human perception and consciousness. We had at least 18 to 22 different calendars by which to measure our space-time reference to galactic and universal phenomenon, as well as the true relationships to evolutionary consciousness. Think about it. The Gregorian calendar only deals with 365 days. But if you are an ancient people living here for over 2 to 3 million years, how many calendars, by watching the sky over 2 million years, would you have developed? Just by being here on the planet that long, you get to know this shit. Oh, I didn't notice that there before. I'll put that down. But they got you locked into 365 days, and that's it. But there are 22 different calendars. And they're all clocked differently to different star systems because we've gone around this galactic center billions of times.
The key to understanding, there is no such thing as time until there are more than one conscious entity to observe it. Figments of one's imagination have no concept of time in relation to each other. Thoughts and ideas don't have an intrinsic chronological order in contrast or in conjunction to one another. That the mind they exist in are bound to. We have to understand that because we all exist in one mind. So, if I can get through this, I'm not just going to give you the creation of man, but I'll give you the creation of almost everything. Nuclear DNA. We are going to hear these brothers talk about this foolishness about common ancestors. Because we all come from the same ecosphere, we can always point to similarities. And I will show you why. We all evolved from a single-cell organism. In fact, we haven't really evolved that much. We are also nothing but particles. I know you know about the particle wave duality. When you look at it, it's a particle. When you don't look, it's a wave. It's the same with us. We are particles called cells. Okay? But we are special. We are made of cells that can create black holes. So we can bend our perception backwards into what we know of as consciousness.
Now, according to the Tamu'ankan Olmec Maya, the patterns of creation are situated in a spiraling linear pattern, like a pyramid cone consisting of 9 levels or 9 cycles. The first or bottom level of this pyramid represents the longest period of man's or humanity's incubation, the cycle of involution that began approximately 16.4 billion years ago, a time which the European Darwinists define as the cellular level of creation. The second level or cycle from the bottom of the pyramid is 20 times shorter due to the consciousness acceleration. And this put us at 840 million years ago, defined by Darwinists as the mammalian level of creation. The third level begins circa 41 million years ago, and at 20 times the rate of consciousness acceleration, bringing in the cycle of the family, what Darwinists call Homo sapiens. The fourth level occurred 2 million years ago and constitutes what is called the tribal level. The fifth level is the level of culture and agriculture. The sixth level occurs 500 or 5,116 years ago and is called the so-called nationalistic level, when man dealing with laws and sovereign nations began coming together. The seventh level occurred in 1755, called the planetary level or global economic level. The eighth level began January 4th, 1999. This brought in the reconnection to the galactic level, or the so-called ethical considerations about our behavior. The ninth level began February 10th, 2001, and that was the universal level denoting expansion of the holographic cube of time-space. Now, in addition to these 9 levels or cycles of galactic consciousness and the galactic consciousness period, each individual level or cycle is further subdivided into 13 equal sections of time. So the first so-called cellular level of the galactic consciousness pyramid, which is 16.4 billion years ago, is divided into 13 sections, or what the Mayans call 13 heavens, each of these heavens being 1.26 billion years long. And I'm doing this right now just to put it on the record. The so-called mammalian level of 840 million years is fractioned into 13 equal pieces of time at 63.1 million years long. Continuing up the pyramid, spiraling at 20 times the speed of the previous cycle, we reach the family cycle at 41 million years, and there's where it's broken down into 13 heavens at 3.1 million years long. The so-called tribal level of 2 million years ago is broken down into 13 sections of 100,000 years apiece. The so-called cultural level at 102,000 years, broken into 13 sections, equals 7,900 years long. The so-called national level at 5,116 years long, fractioned out by 13, equals 396 years long. The planetary level, which supposedly began at 1755 Gregorian time, broken down into 13 sections, became 19.7 years long. The so-called galactic level came during January 4th, 1999 Gregorian time, fractioned into 13, it becomes 360 days long. And finally, the so-called universal level, which is to occur February 10th, 2011. Let me say that again. February 10th, 2011. That's when everything shifts. That's when we begin the gateway, or the transit, to the Aquarian Age. We're not in the Aquarian Age. Aquarian Age don't come in fully until 2050. In the New Consciousness Index, we will come to realize who I am not, what I am not, and even why I am not. In other words, according to the ancient Kemites who originated the Kabbalistic sciences after the invasion of the Hyksos, the secret of creation is that it is actually a universal negation. Listen carefully. The secret of creation is that it is actually a universal negation or retraction of 10% of the quintessentiality of the ineffable all from the all. There's nothing that can be created outside of the Creator. So what is created is actually created within the Creator. So the only way the Creator could have created was to subtract upon itself. Who? Now you understand why your Chemite ancestors dealt in the negative for everything when they dealt with the so-called negative confessions. Not have I done this. Not have I done that, because they understand that everything that you're living in is in negation. And the very fact that the negation is 10%, you see the cosmic vagina, which means that anything that's material is mother. So the retraction to 10% is the creation of the universal vagina, wherein all things, all potentials of the Father are now manifested as the mother through the mother. So now you understand that you could not create outside the Creator. The Creator doesn't create. The Creator condenses upon itself. Understand that, and you will understand the secret behind manifestation. Manifestation is not something that comes out of nothing. It is something that condenses. All creation is a condensation process of self. Listen carefully. Creation is therefore the all participating in the negative reflection or blueprint of self, which in the end is truly what it is not. This is not the Creator. It is an aspect of it. Thus, anything we erect externally or psychologically in accordance with the Maya, and anybody know what Maya means? Illusion. Ooh, somebody's telling you that the Maya built it. Ooh, wait a minute. Maya built the Olmec calendar. The Maya, huh? I got it. The Maya built the pyramids of Teotihuacan. So, in accordance with the Maya or illusion, right, anything that we erect must be perceived as a negation or negative reflection of our true selves. The universe does not answer questions framed in the affirmative. Who am I? For we will continue to get negative answers, or answers that simply reflect the questions, not answer them. Realizing who we are not negates the projected illusion and thus reveals the point from which the all projects itself. Let me say that again. Realizing who you are not puts you directly into connection to who you are. The secret is to reverse the field of observation. In reversing the field of observation, the positive shows itself. But if you try to assail the negative and ask it a question, you will be negating the answer because you will be constantly coming up against the negative force. But when you say, who am I not? And then investigate through that particular vector of analysis, now you begin to see who you really are, because the negative now begins to start opening the veil. Realizing who we are not negates the projected illusion and thus reveals the point from which the all projects itself. And where our present humanity is headed as this creational cycle speeds up will one day make it totally possible to create any reality that we simply imagine.
This is where we've been misinterpreting these religious terms. Elohim, pay attention. In the original language here are no vowels. So you're looking at this. These are the three letters. This means black, blackness or darkness. El refers to God, God, the creator of light. And I will show you how. Elohim is actually God blackness, the El. We see it in masonry. It's important because it demonstrates the genius we know it took to build the pyramid. That's obvious. But when electrons and protons cross each other in the core of the sun at a 90-degree angle, that's a square. That's an L. Angles, the photons are produced. This is how light is produced. That's why it's L. That's why illumination, wisdom, consciousness, all associated with light. When electrons oscillate in a conductor, they also create magnetic lines, magnetic fields at 90-degree angles. This is that elegant. So this is a symbol, an ancient symbol for dark matter, what we know is actually an electromagnetic field of living plasma. All right? Our ancestors codified that in the little stories to tell the children about a non-zeta spider. Who, what, when, where is God? We got the answers here. All right? So this is the modern science. This is actually
magnetic field.
The large magnetic field that we live in. All right? This is the magnetic field we live in. This would be our creator here. There's nobody sitting somewhere evaluating every detail of what's going on with you. We got to come out of those silly religions. Now, this is how our ancestors encoded this for us. Right here. So we got the smoking gun. Because the white dude try to attack this, so we can't deal with it. But I'm going to deal with it anyway. Because I can prove beyond the shadow of a doubt what he got. Right? And then I'll deal with number 26. Well, you have to get that in the book. Right? The relationship to the sun, the number 26, and etc. Now, again, your L. Diamagnetic field expand at right angles to the field. The egg, we know from the Dogon, right? What's inside the egg? Plasma. Plasma. This is what the Dogon was talking about. Binary fission. This is how our universe started. This is what they're falsely calling the Big Bang. Right? And I will give it to you. The whole thing. When you have a bang, let's go back here again. When you have this happen, the split, the divide, right? That creates a sound. That also creates light, radiation, the oldest light in the universe. But it also creates a potential. It also creates an electrical potential from highest to lowest, which starts the chain reaction of life. So, like I told you, I'm going to give you the creation of everything if we can do it. This is what our ancestors taught us. They taught us about this guy. But nobody knew about this guy. When we read the hieroglyphs and the pyramid text and the coffin text, every time they reference beetle, we thought dung beetle. Because most of us don't know that a firefly is actually a beetle. This is the transformative beetle. This is why they reference that to you, because we can do the same thing. We can do the same thing in two different beetles. Right? Now, this is you. I want to expose one of the greatest illusions ever told. This is the illusion we're under. We look in the mirror, we see our face, we see our body, we see individuality. That is the illusion. This is why evolution is false. This is why creation is false. This is why your ancestors in Kemet never taught this. This is you. You've never changed. You're still just the amalgamation of single-cell organisms. Period. This is you. And this, as we will see by the end of this lecture, is the smoking gun, the proof to what we should be studying in terms of the universe.